And good morning, everyone, and welcome back. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. This is what I call my morning musings. I'm currently taking a look at and responding to some material against preterism written by Dr. William Lane Craig. Dr. Craig was responding to the preterist views, partial preterist views, of George Caird and N.T. Wright and others. And we've already examined the very first reason he gave by way of objection. And as I've expressed in regard to the second objection, I guess I'm just really kind of failing to see the significance of Dr. Craig's objection. And it is this. He seems to be claiming that preterists do not believe that Christ was ruling from 30 to 70 AD, that he was, to use his terminology, just sort of hanging out, or he's sort of waiting around until the Son of Man is given him dominion, authority, and everything. Well, again, that's a total misunderstanding of what preterists generally believe. I do not believe that, or know of any preterist, and I certainly do not personally believe, that Jesus was just sort of hanging out between 30 and 70 AD. I believe that Christ ascended to the Father, sat down at the right hand, until he would make his enemies his footstool. He had initiated his victory by ascending through the cross and through his resurrection, through his ascension to the right hand, and he would come again to consummate and perfect that victory when the last enemy would be put down. So that's not just kind of hanging out. But here's the issue. Underlying Dr. Craig's, quote, objection, unquote, is the idea, number one, that at his parousia, Christ would surrender his throne, hand it over, abdicate his throne. But that is an unbiblical view. Now, 1 Corinthians chapter 15, 23 and following, says he must reign until. I understand that the word until very often has a terminal sense to it. However, it does not always have a terminal sense to it. So we must take all of the teaching of Scripture in regard to what happened, or what would happen with Christ in regard to the kingdom at his parousia. Furthermore, 1 Corinthians chapter 15 says, then comes the end when he shall deliver the kingdom to the Father. Well, here's the problem when we use the word until and the word deliver. The word deliver is paradidomai, or paradidoi, and it's the same identical word that Paul uses in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 2. Paul says, moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the gospel which you have believed, by which also you have saved, if you keep in mind that which I delivered unto you. For I delivered unto you, first of all, how that Christ died. Now, same word. So the question is, when Paul delivered the gospel to the Corinthians, did he surrender control? Or did he share the gospel with them? Paradidoi does not demand, does not suggest an abdication or a surrendering of the kingdom. Secondly, when we examine, as I've already suggested, other passages that tell us the relationship between Christ and the church at his coming, not one of them suggests that Christ in any way abdicates his throne. Number one, Luke chapter 1, 32 to 35 says, the angel told Mary that God would give Christ, this Messiah, the throne of his father David, and of his kingdom and of his rule there will be no end. What does no end mean? So we have this emphatic statement in Luke 1, 32 to 35, that of his throne and of his kingdom there would be no end. And then we have this supposed interpretation of 1 Corinthians chapter 15, 23 to 26, that says he would deliver the kingdom So we have to conflate and correlate these two passages. No end negates surrender and end, especially in light of the fact that paradidoi in 1 Corinthians 15 does not mean surrender and abdicate or come to an end. Secondly, Ephesians chapter 5, 25 and following, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church, and gave himself for her, that he might sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of water by the word. Now watch this, that he might, this is in the subjunctive, which has a futurist force to it, that he might present it to himself without spot and without blemish. So here is Christ in regard to the church, that he would present it to himself. Well, when would Christ marry the church? Matthew 25, 1 and following, at his coming. Now look at this. This is incredible. William Lane Craig's view that Christ would surrender the kingdom to the Father, i.e. abdicate, i.e. give it over, have no more control over it, suggests that at his coming, Christ gives the bride to the Father. He doesn't marry her, he gives her away. Folks, that's an unbiblical doctrine. So, Dr. Craig's objection, based upon the assumption that deliver the kingdom and ruling until has the idea of the termination of his rule, the surrendering of his sovereignty, is simply a misguided, unbiblical concept. There are more passages that confirm this, that verify this in an undeniable way, and we will pick up some of those other passages as we continue our examination of Dr. William Lane Craig's objections to preterism. In the meantime, you need to get a copy of my book, Like Father, Like Son, on Clouds of Glory. In this book, I discuss an awful lot of this material, and I give documentation on top of documentation that at his coming, Christ does not surrender his throne. Go to my website, eschatology.org, BibleProphecy.com, order the book, mention that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook. I'll refund your shipping. Hey, look, here we are, Labor Day weekend. I hope to be able to work on one of my old Mustangs this weekend. Going to kind of hopefully kick back and relax. I hope you have a really, really safe, wonderful, quote, vacation weekend. In the meantime, we'll see you, Lord willing. You'll see me, Lord willing, on Monday. God bless.